Now, when the Model T was released in 1908, Henry Ford was arguably one of the best innovators within the automotive industry. But as time went on, Henry Ford's vision of what he wanted Ford Motor Company to be had a tendency to stagnate. The largest example of this was the fact that the Model T essentially made very few improvements over its 19-year production run. And by the mid-1920s, it was very clear that Ford's competition had not only caught up to them technologically, but had also superseded them. Now, when it comes to brakes in early Fords, we tend to have a very similar story. Now, when it came to the Model T had a band system that was built into the transmission. It also had a handbrake that was a linkage-based braking system that ran to the back two wheels. And when I say braking system, I use the term very lightly. Later down the road, Ford would develop a linkage-based braking system that actually went to all four wheels. The problem is that Ford automobiles in 1927 started getting larger and larger, putting more and more strain on those braking systems. So what did Ford do? Well, they just kind of waited around until 1938. And you might be asking yourself, that seems like a really long time. And you wouldn't be wrong. The first company to implement hydraulic brakes was Duesenberg in 1921. That caught the attention of Chrysler, who then eventually adapted it to their vehicles. GM was more reluctant to switch over to a hydraulic-based system and opted to go from a linkage-based system to a cable-driven system before eventually realizing that hydraulic was probably the better way to go. But thanks to Edsel Ford in 1939, he officially got his father to fold over and implement hydraulic brakes, not only on the Lincoln, but also the Mercurys and the Fords. Now, the interesting thing that a lot of people don't actually know is that Henry was such a pain in the ass about hydraulic brakes. He never actually had a vehicle with hydraulic brakes. He just absolutely didn't trust them. As a result, he made it available as a special order option that you could get your car with a solid linkage braking system up until about 1940, 1942. I had the absolute joy of telling a mechanic that was working on a 1940 Ford and saw the remnants of a linkage drive system and had no idea what it was. The car had been converted over to a hydraulic system probably in the 1950s or 1960s. But it was pretty cool that I was able to tell him that the remnant of what he was looking at was likely a car that had been ordered from the factory with a solid linkage braking system because the owner just didn't trust hydraulic brakes.